Hello, so hopefully you can see me. I tried doing the live setup thing tonight, so there's already people in the chat and people have given likes, so that's good. Because yeah, there's a different way of doing it I've not bothered doing before, but it seems easy enough to do with YouTube, where I can actually schedule it properly through YouTube. So I've got the GP5M on, or PMG2, the one off the display. You'll notice it's not on the end of the Enfield barrel. I had to get that down quite carefully before the stream. Otherwise, it wouldn't have. I'd have probably ripped everything down trying to get it, but there we go. So I've got this to drink tonight. It's actually quite low in the bottle now, looking at that. Didn't realise I only had that little left. Got some ice in there with it at the moment. Obviously, I can't drink it with the mask on. They're not really mounted as such. They're just sort of stuck on the Lee Enfield. So, like little bits of the rifle, I've got the straps or whatever over. No drinking tubes on GP5Ms. I don't know, probably because it was simple to manufacture them like this. And I don't know if this one will come off to show you. No, I think it's pretty wedged on. But this bit basically unscrews, and you've got the voice diaphragm under this bit. That's a good price, GP5, yeah. Well done. Yeah, I bought that actually in the Czech Republic, which you might be able to see from the bit on the top, if the webcam focuses on it. No, it's got the like Czech duty kind of label on that. But yeah, this is actually bought in a Czech supermarket. When I was over there for probably not very much. Can't remember how much it was now. I'm sure you could paint the outside of the filter. I went to the Czech Republic, I think it was 2017. Yeah, it was 2017. I went to Germany, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Austria, then back to Germany again. Could stream Killing Floor. I've got Killing Floor 2 as well. Tell you what, let's get this off so I can have some of my alcohol. But yeah, I'll put the GP5 back on in a bit because I can at least read the messages this on. But yeah, I certainly could stream Killing Floor 1 and 2 quite easily on the new PC. My current PC can play Killing Floor 1 easily. Killing Floor 2, although it's alright when you're in-game, it takes forever to start up. Yeah, Lee Enfield's up there, look, with all the Soviet masks on it. Alright, cool, Mike. See, there's a bit too much ice in there. The reason is my mum bought a new ice cube thing and put it in the freezer, but she overfilled it. So I ended up having to like chuck all the ice cubes out and just get the only salvageable bits that weren't huge. So now I've refilled it. I've refilled it to the fill line, not just completely fill the bloody thing with water. That's all right, Mike. It's because straps let you adjust individual bits of the mask. So obviously, depending on the size of your forehead or your jawbones or whatever, you can tighten straps to comfort to fit, even if your head isn't a universal shape. Hood-style helmet masks are kind of better in some ways because if you've got one that's the right size, you literally just pull it straight on, Compared to a mask with straps, a mask like this, all you literally do is you've got it on. But straps are better for comfort fitting a mask, but if you know your size, masks like this in some ways are better. I haven't got any plans to get Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 5. I was going to say GP5. Bad Company 2 works fine on my current PC, but what temperature is it at the moment? 26.5 C. I've got the aircon on for the stream, so it's not on the stream, so it's not really loud. It's a number 1 Mark III, isn't it? They're called. It's a deactivated one. It's a 1939 model, but yeah. Over 100, Owen. I've really lost count at this point. But as I said, annoyingly, if Windows 10 hadn't fucked my PC up, I'd have still had the old checklist thing where every time I got a new mask, I put it on the thing. But when I had to format my hard drive and I lost that, I thought, fuck it, I'm not doing that again. This ice is right in the way at the moment. It needs to melt a bit more. Well, where would it say Mark III Star on it? I've done videos on it, but didn't they use the number 1 Mark III up until the number 4 Mark I was the mass-produced one? But YouTube hasn't banned gas masks. If I wasn't allowed to make any more gas mask videos, I'd just do more videos on lighters, Geiger counters, and whatever else. But they haven't banned gas masks. I don't know why they would ban gas masks. Oh, the US in the Gulf War used the M17. They used the M17 in Vietnam and the Gulf War. Unless you're thinking of a different mask. But the US used the M17 from like some point in the 50s up until nearly the year 2000. Do you know which mask it was? Yeah, if it's not going to happen. I'll be optimistic like that and say it's not going to happen. I don't want to worry about I can't do anything without it getting stopped. No, I don't have any World War I masks other than like the cheap PH gas hood replica I have. What's Wish? Is that like a Chinese shopping thing? Let's just Google it. Wish.com. I'll type in gas mask and then see if there's any on there that... I'll probably have some of them already. Sign up to browse products. I don't want to do that. But looking through it, I've already got some of the masks that are on here. Lots of them are just the 3M style ones, like the ones in the picture and all that for the thumbnail. Yeah, a lot of the masks coming up on here, although I've not closed the little thing that says, you know, make an account to close. I've still got a lot of those because you can still buy them on eBay. Most hated gas mask. The one that I've got the most angry at is my Czech M10. The M10M I quite like, but the M10 I was trying to put the filters in on the video was just making me very angry. Might be a Mark III Star then, because at the end of the bolt, you can't see it there, obviously, because the masks are on it. It does have like a rectangular bit, if that's what you mean. GSR is pretty shit, but it's still probably slightly better than the old cheek filter masks, because you can at least change the filters on the outside. Alright, cool, it's a Mark III Star then, there we go. Why do you think the M50 is trash? Personally, I prefer it in 40mm, but that's what the C50 is. But I don't really understand. I don't think there's any design flaws with the M50. I mean, I can understand if you don't like the filter system it uses, but in terms of like comfort of the face piece, voice diaphragm, there's not really anything wrong with it. Yeah, but it's not like the GSR in terms of quality control, because it's lighter, more comfortable, the parts aren't going to fail easily. Sportsman Guide's in America, though, isn't it? Not the UK. All right, Daniel. So yeah, once the ice melts a bit more in my drink, I will start drinking it. Yeah, I really like the FM12 and CT12. No, sadly, it's not Celtic Productions. It kind of looks like some of the British World War II masks, but if you look at the World War II British civilian mask and the World War II British civilian duty mask and the children's Mickey Mouse mask, it's actually none of those. It's kind of just one they've made to look like some of the World War II masks, but it's not a specific design. Without putting them right next to each other, which I can't conveniently do on the video, I'm afraid, Ghost Jesus, I'm not sure, but the FM12 is definitely more slimline, but there's probably not a huge amount in it. What's the second stream, Jonas? There's not going to be a second stream today. eBay, when there's one for sale, XM28's fairly rare. Well, I don't know how many unique Steve Gorman masks there are, because I've got Vista Vision up there, and I know Steve Gorman were the only ones that made the Vista Vision, as far as I'm aware. But lots of British World War II masks were also made by Steve Gorman, along with Avon and lots of other rubber companies. So, I don't know how many unique Steve Gorman masks there are, because I'm not that familiar. I can't really give you a good answer on that. But the Vista Vision's cool. I just wish it had an oral nasal cup in it. The main thing with the S10, Ghost Jesus, that might cause a problem with that is the S10 has the NBC hood ridge that goes all along the mask. The FM12 doesn't have that. So the ridge on the S10 means it's harder to fit with a lot of helmets, but the FM12 is a lot more slimline, because they just took that off, because most NBC hoods will still go around it fine even without the ridge on. Yeah, SR1, Celtic, I've got that. Well, you'd need an NBC suit as well, General, because if you only had the gas mask on, even if it was a cheek filter or a regular mask, you need a full NBC suit, because if you don't have all that on, you're still going to die anyway from nerve agent. What, as in like silica gel, War Medic? No. Where are you, Mr. K? Over here, it's not that expensive. Well, I'd love to get an S8 if I ever saw one for sale at a reasonable price, but I've never even seen an S8 for sale. The only time I've seen an S8 in person is Bovington Tank Museum has an S8 on one of the display cabinets there. Can't you get, in Lithuania, isn't there lots of people in Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia are always selling like old Soviet stock quite cheaply, so can't you just buy them? Or do you mean like different masks? Well, which model gas mask, Bradley? There's quite a lot of different masks you can buy on Amazon. Oh, what was that Maxi boy said? Yeah, it's sad. I'll tell you what, I'll show you my really weird Steve Gorman masks. I think I'll be able to get that out. It might be a bit buried, but I do know where it is. Here we go. In my Alpenflage bag. And I find the top of it. There we go. M4GP. And this really bloody weird Steve Gorman mask. There's something else in there as well. It's just a filter. Alright. So this is the really weird Steve Gorman mask I have, which is actually quite high in quality, but it's a really weird mask. So this mask is, I've done a video on this, but originally it's like a firefighter's mask, right? So Steve Gorman designed these as firefighter masks, and they were fine for that, but then the British MOD requested them as a 40mm masks. So they made it in 40mm, but the stupid thing is it doesn't actually have intake valves, so the mask steams up really quickly, because it requires a certain amount of pressure before the exhale valve opens, because it's designed to be used with an airline. That will be an airsoft mask, Mr. K, I imagine, not a real mask. Well, I don't know if it's the price, if it is in good condition or not. I'm not psychic, but yeah, $2 for a GP5 is a very good price. Ask cool, your mother. P3 and P100 is the same, yeah. The P95, P97, P100, or whatever they call it, is the American system that I've complained about before, but I don't want to open that can of worms again, arguing about that. Yeah, MSA Hour 3S is very decent, Kirigan Crane. But yeah, this Steve Gorman mask, it's a shame they just didn't put the valve in this. Maybe I'll see if I can mock this up with a like umbrella valve there somehow. Because if I put an umbrella valve there, this would actually be really good. I don't really get what you mean by that, Garrett. If you rephrase it slightly, I'll see if I can answer it. This is a British Steve Gorman mask before Steve Gorman went broke, but it's like a really weird mask. You can't find much information on online. Get some banana oil Exclusone, or something really strong, similar vapor kind of smell thing to that. Maybe a paint thinner or something like that. And with the filter and the mask on, see if you can smell it. Don't obviously damage yourself by making too many fumes and then breathing it in. But that will tell you if the mask's working or not. 30 to £60 sort of price range, British Gamer. Yeah, they use that, Garrett, instead of a filter, because it's better having an air tank than a filter because it supplies you with cold air, even if you're in an environment with no air at all. The filter requires there to be air to filter in the first place. That will just probably be made in 1987, I imagine, Killshot. That's probably the production date. For example, on this GP5, see where there's like a backwards R and an 80? That's manufactured in 1980. And I guess that bit, 141 on that one, is serial production run 141. But that will be what it is. It's depending on which Warsaw Pact state made that GP5. Sometimes they use normal letters, sometimes it's Cyrillic. If I saw a PRW for a decent price, I'd get one, but most of the time when I've seen them, they've been really expensive. No, the only Italian gas mask I have is that Spaziani TR2002. Right, I wish you luck, but don't pay too much if it's a GSR. Oop, there goes my placemat. Typical bloody thing where you have a drink on a placemat in warm weather and then condensation, the placemat sticks to the bottom of the thing. What that Foschune poster? It's just a print off of the US World War II gas posters. There's the Lewisite and the Foschune one there. No, it's this stuff with some ice cubes in it. People just hate it, I think, because it's a common mask. So because lots of people end up buying GP5s because it's such a cheap mask, then you get like the real sort of snotty collectors going, oh, if you've only got a GP5, that's not a real mask, but it's still a mask. It's Czech kind of, almost like herbal kind of spirit. It's a bit of a strange thing. I don't know really what you'd compare it to, but it's kind of like quite a spicy taste to it in a sense, even though it's a spirit. No, my Spaziani is in my car, Jonas, so I can't show it you. It sits in the boot of my car. Well, as I've said before on every stream when I get asked, I've got an airsoft gun, but because my closest airsoft site is quite a far way away, they only do one game a month on a Sunday, and I work Sundays, I don't play airsoft. Yeah, I'll show you the problem with this mask. I won't put the filter on, but if I put this on, this is really good quality rubber on this mask. you'll see that fairly quickly this will start fogging up. And the problem is, because, well, when I've got a filter on it at least it would, because the exhale valve is one that only opens when a certain amount of air pressure builds up in the mask, this tends to fog up quite quickly. I don't know, I've never had Fireball, I don't think, Daniel. But... well, circular lenses are older, because most World War I masks have circular lenses, but it really depends, because it depends how you want to design a mask. Because you can't, there's not like a right or wrong answer. Depending on if it's a big or small triangular or circular lens, the field of view will vary. So it's more down to the quality of the individual mask rather than the shape of the lenses. Yeah, the voice diaphragms, that bit. But yeah, I can understand why this didn't see full-scale military production, but it does seem very weird the MOD demanded these and then on purposely demanded it have a 40mm in air take, but not to be used with an airline, because I think it was originally an airline mask. Wow, I've been doing 3 videos a week for the last year, and that's not changed. So I'm doing the same amount of videos and more streams, not less videos and more streams. That's interesting, Mole. Yeah, any 40mm mask, you can put a 40mm hose on. Right, all I'm just going to say now in the stream is because a lot of people are answering questions I've already, or sorry, asking questions I answer over and over again on the streams. Oh shit, that's done, for fuck's sake. It's done that again, and then I've sprayed myself with liquor. Great. I'm not going to bother answering people that keep asking the questions I answer every stream because it just gets tedious. And hello, Richard. I did see you say hello earlier, but I was in the middle of answering somebody. No, I've never almost suffocated, because if you realised a mask is pulling tight to your head or whatever, because the intake valve is blocked, you just take the mask off, don't you? You don't go, right, I'm going to carry on suffocating myself. Yeah, because they coated both the inside and outside of the hoses with talc because it was the Soviets. Yeah, I've got quite a few lighters. There are videos of them on my channel. It's definitely not cinnamon in this. But it's kind of like a herby sort of tasting thing. But... Right, OY is the size, so it's the smallest size GP5 and the cheap model because it's Y. 42, I imagine, is serial number, like production run. 87 will be production year. Well, there's propaganda kind of posters behind me, but otherwise, no. Yeah, MSA makes some quite cool stuff. I don't have a metal detector. No, I don't think I've ever tried that kind of tea. What's in it? Hello, Ricky. I assume you were meant to say hello the first time when you instead said help. I thought it was a bit strange. I'm just randomly saying help in the comments. You can turn the quality settings down on your stream, James. If you go on YouTube, click the gear, then put the quality down, because obviously your bandwidth isn't good enough. Well, it's not the most reliable of masks. It's reliable enough, Celtic. But again, I use my Avon CT12 because that's my favourite mask. But the Shums isn't bad. But again, modern masks are generally better than older masks because more of them have things like polycarbonate in and, like stronger rubbers and plastics. As far as I'm aware, other than probably some earlier kind of prototype GP5s, nobody cares about the GP5 production year or anything like that, because they're not worth really anything at all, because they're the world's most mass-produced masks. The PTM1, you just cut a bit of the thing that's in the GP5 lens tins to fit it. So you make your own lenses for it, essentially. I'm medically unfit to serve British Games, so I wouldn't ever be in the army. Probably Polish FP5 filters, Mike. Yeah, I don't like it either. There's one up there, but as I've said before, it's just, for me, I find it uncomfortable and whatever else. No, I don't have any hydration systems. I have a couple of military canteens with different kind of connectors on for different masks, but I don't have any hydration systems. All right, Marcus, you all right? Well, Wellingtons, yeah, if they were, like you're saying, if you duct tape them to your trousers or whatever and you had waterproof trousers on, or especially if you put the waterproof trousers over the top of the Wellingtons, then duct tape the trousers to the Wellingtons, then yeah, that would be absolutely fine, as long as the Wellingtons didn't split, as long as they're, you know, like good quality Wellingtons. But lots of NBC coverall boots are basically just small Wellingtons. M17 filters fit the M17. Well, that's a Swiss Alpenflage bag, if that's what you're looking at. So I got a mask out of it earlier. Yes, I've used a fountain pen War Medic. I wouldn't choose to use a fountain pen because ballpoints make them pretty much obsolete. Yeah, the SR1 that was asked earlier in the stream, Garrett, and I said yes, so the answer is still yes. Well, there's no National Guard in the UK because we're not in America. They have the territorial army, but the requirements for being in that is pretty much the same as the actual army. It's just you're not paid as much, and you're kind of, you know, called up to fight if there's a war, kind of thing. What do people call Wellingtons now if they don't call them Wellingtons? Because I've always just called them Wellington boots. Do they have like some modern name or something? Ah, wellies, yeah, but that was the kind of same thing, isn't it? Wellies, Wellington boots. I was just wondering if there's like some kind of more modernized name that sounds nothing like that. If I only had a cheek filter mask, the Soviet PBF. The UN isn't a production company. It's a thing where people sit around and squabble. So no, they don't make gas masks. UN doesn't make anything. It's not a factory. Yeah, I mean, we have a Coast Guard, don't we? But I don't think they even bother doing much stuff like that, Marcus. National Coast Guard, there you go. That's what they could be called. I've heard of King Solomon. I don't know who you mean by just Solomon. Or are they a brand? What, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds? Well, I don't. I see what you mean, yeah. Could reopen the old pillboxes, couldn't they, Marcus, that are still on some of the beaches? Depends what you mean by a lot, but I have quite a few modern masks, yeah. But again, I just buy whatever I see at a reasonable price. I've not got really any preference, you know. So does that work better for people, how I did the stream today, just for the people who don't necessarily always watch them, or sometimes always do watch them? or I scheduled it via YouTube rather than doing the community tab thing. Because people like that, I can do that more often. It's quite easy to do now. It works a lot better than it used to. Alright, good. Don't pay over £60 for it. There you go. £30 to £60. There's definitely ones that still turn up on eBay for like £35. Right, I'll make sure I do it like this again then. Because when I know what time I'm going to be streaming, it's easy enough for me to schedule it. It's just, when I used to use OBS to stream, it never used to work properly. If I told YouTube I'd be streaming at a certain time, where you'd connect OBS into YouTube to stream it, it would want to start a new stream, not the one that was scheduled. I've got an Osprey Mark IV. €61 is a bit steep for GSR, but hopefully you'll get one that's not completely defective then, Mole. Otherwise it's a bit of a waste of money in my opinion, but as you know, I'm a bit opinionated on the GSR. I suppose the German concrete pillboxes were pretty tough, weren't they, Marcus? So if you've got enough of the shell of one there, you could probably use it as a pretty secure stuff if you then put insulation in it and whatever else. Yeah, I've seen Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, Hamburger Hill, probably quite a few other Vietnam movies as well. Well, that's the Avon S10, Garrett, but the lenses aren't tinted, they're outserts. Ah, fair enough. If it's a rare mask where you are, that's fine. But like in the UK, I wouldn't advise anybody pays much for a GSR. It looks cool anyway, even if it's not. I've never actually seen Warhorse. Cool. What's different on the Navy artillery variant? Is it like a different filter or something like that? No, I don't have a Canadian C4, sadly. I'd love to get a C4, but I've never seen them for sale for less than like £200 to £300, which I wouldn't pay for one, especially if it's a surplus one anyway. Yeah, I know what Warhorse is about. I've just never seen it. Oh, I guess so. You could have the bag probably and operate machinery or something. Yeah, I'll get around to watching it at some point. I've got the entire Das Boot TV series, the longest possible version of it, because they did it as a theatrical cut, a director's cut, and the unabridged version was a TV series. I've got all the TV series on my hard drive, and I've still not got around to watching it. But I'll watch it at some point. Yeah, I've even streamed Half-Life 2 on this channel. Oh, it's just out of frame, but you'll notice the Metro Cop mask. If you look there, look, it's there. My favourite Russian or Soviet mask is the Shum's SHMS. I did have the GP5 on for the start of the stream, or GP5M, but I'll get around to watching Warhorse at some point. I've seen a World War I horror film, and I'm trying to remember what it was called. I think it was just called something like The Trench, and it was about guys that were in a trench and there was like these really weird monsters. I think I've heard something like that, Iron Man, but I think the asteroid theory is more likely, just it hitting the Earth and loads of smoke and dust coming up that choked them, or made the Earth too cold for them to have it. All right, Peach. I thought you were already on though, Richard, were you? Or were you saying you've only just got the notification even though you're on? When you're saying Trench 11, I assume you mean Trench 11, but no, I've not seen Trench 11 or Trench 11, like I was just saying. No, this isn't Avon filter, it's a Mask Pole ABE filter. Like the ones that you could get easily before the FP5s that are normalised, so they fit Warsaw Pact and NATO masks. What's the least scariest gas mask? Just the full face panoramic lens one, where you can see the entire person's face. So any of the full face panoramic ones, like the VistaVision there or any of the others, because it's just, you can see the person's face. Wow. I don't see why I wouldn't like NATO filters. It's not like NATO is saying is a brand of filter, it's like a standard of filter. You got a new notification. What? So you got the old notification and a new one? Well, I won't object to YouTube giving people more notifications rather than not giving them any at all. It does seem odd, doesn't it, Rich? What, the new Overlord film? No. I haven't really had much desire to see it, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of J.J. Abrams. If I see he's like the director of a film, I'll pass on it, really. Unless other people want to watch it with me, but otherwise I'm not fussed. Favourite horror film? Probably Della Morte Della More, which is a dark comedy sort of zombie horror film, also called Cemetery Man. If you mean out like more conventional horror films, probably a John Carpenter one. Maybe Halloween or The Fog. I saw the newer Dunkirk. There's also the old Dunkirk. Is Richard Harris in the old Dunkirk? There's multiple variants of the S6 filter. Sadly, I don't have the S6 filter with all the holes around the outside. The S6 filters I've got are the ones that just look a bit like, black metal filter. Yeah, I've got No Country for Old Men on DVD. I've seen the Blob and the Blob remake. I actually prefer the remake of the Blob to the original. You'll need to get a Polish filter if you want to use it safely. So either ones like this or the Polish FP5 filters, because they're normalized 40mm. So it means they fit on NATO and Ghost masks. Israeli filters are 40mm NATO, so they won't actually properly fit on the GP5. What, Fury, the film about the tank? Yeah, I saw that. It was pretty historically inaccurate, wasn't it? But it was watchable, but I didn't think it was particularly good. Yeah, I've seen Hereditary. Oh, if people are asking about films, don't put any spoilers on. All right, Mike? But yeah, the thing I didn't like with Fury was just that a lot of the time, I know it's plot armor, but like the Germans wouldn't even be hitting close to the tanks of the 88s because obviously their tank couldn't get blown up till the end. Yeah, I wouldn't pay £180 for a C-50. I'd get it if it was in the £50 to £100 price. Yeah, you're asking us if we've seen lots of classic films there, Garrett. Yes, I'm sure most of us have seen Saving Private Ryan. Yeah, the Unicorn light anti-gas respirator. I don't know what its real name is, but it's a weird prototype. I guess they realised pretty quickly it's not very practical to have a filter there on your head. I've seen Saw 1 and 2 and none of the other sequels. Saw 1 I quite like, but they just seem to get dumber and dumber, didn't they, over sequels? I've got a Discord server, Rod, but it's for patrons only. But yeah, have I thought about doing something I've already done? Yes. I've got 1 or 2 French masks, not very many. Not really any favourite characters in it. I can't remember all the characters in it. There's the guy with the motorbike, isn't there, and like the girl, and like some scientists who are secretly a bit evil or whatever, but I can't remember it all that well. Yes, with a license, Bradley. What, the Mel Gibson one? That's very good when they do the danger close bit of the napalm. Right, let me finish off my Betcha Rovka or whatever it's called, and then I'll put the mask back on. Hamburger Hill's a Vietnam War film about a particular hill they kept trying to take and we kept getting fought back. No, I haven't seen Darkest Hour. I know it's the one with Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill, but I've not seen it. Might be bone broth if they've not all been recycled and destroyed. No, I don't have a Soviet Yashenka. I doubt these will go on, but that's just... Yeah, it's not the most practical thing in the world. Butterfly knives, sadly, are illegal in the UK, so I can't own one. I've seen The Thing from Another World, John Carpenter's The Thing, and the prequel remake kind of thing of The Thing. Well, I've not got anything to replace them with. Now I've got a trainer one as well, but I'm saying I'm not going to say I'm going to like something, am I, that you can't get anyway. The Russian sleep experiment's a creepypasta, it's not real. No, apparently size 4 is the biggest, so apparently the size 4 I've got, despite it being the biggest size, is still way too small for me, so I just think they're a pretty small mask, the M76s. No, I'm pretty sure they use the same numbering as the Soviets did, and that's what some Hungarians have told me as well. It's more comfortable if you're bald than if you have hair, Marcus. The more hair you've got, the more it will pull at your hair. You'll only be sticky and sweaty as you pull it off. Alright, cool, Mike. I'll probably only be on another 20 to 30 minutes. Well, I collect them, Bradley. I don't sell them. I don't know, but don't do anything illegal. Just get that on properly. There we go. Take those back off because it's more awkward having them on than not having them on. Sounds good, Garrett. I'll have to Google it rather than find out for you. It's probably a Yugoslavian M1 or an M2. Most of the ones coming up on results are Serbian or Yugoslavian M1 masks, or the MC one. Now, you might have to cut your hair then, Killshot. Second favourite after the Avon CT12, probably the Fushida F2A4. Right, see you, Marcus. Have a nice evening. I don't know, I've never seen pictures of the Africa Corps with dust masks on, so I couldn't tell you. That would be the original bone broth. The MP5 is a licensed version built by the Polish. Now, the most produced gas mask is the GP5. The most used one, that's a harder thing to answer. I'd guess probably one of the Soviet military masks, but it's hard to say because they kind of went through phases of making different masks. No, not seen him, Daniel. What about it, James? It survived. Some of my World War II were interwar masks, like the Mark IV over there. Yeah, lots of companies, lots of companies, lots of countries use the FM12 because it's a good mask and it's affordable. All right, Richard. All right, see you, Celtic. All right, Gabby Dubs. Yeah. Cheek filter masks because the cheeks are inside the mask, not on the outside of the mask. Yeah, that's an SLR there. The Enfield up there. The GP5 is not a sniper's mask. Well, the regular GP5 doesn't have the ear holes, and the Polish MUA has a smaller voice diaphragm and doesn't have ear holes, but the GP5M has ear holes. Well, the M50 is a way better mask than the get that off, than the Czech M10. But I still advise a 40mm mask over the M50, really. Right, cheers, British Gamer Guy. Appreciate that. Right, see you if you're off. I'll only be on another 20 or so minutes because it's quite hot in the room. Filmed 2 videos, the one that went live earlier and one that's on that Italian possible World War II lighter that's scheduled for like a month from now. Otherwise, played a bit of Fallout 4, did some stuff around the house, not loads today. All right, see you, James. That's the Shums. That's not a GP5 though. Unless you're saying you got a GP5 and a Shums. As in my regular videos, because I do 3 normal videos a week, I schedule them. So obviously it means that if for 1 week I wasn't able to do any videos, there'd still be videos to watch kind of thing. Well, the problem is though, Iron Man, fans don't cool down the air, they just circulate the air. So you'll feel cooler while you're in the path of a fan. But the fan actually being on, the motor in the fan is actually going to make the room hotter. So unless you get an aircon or an evaporative cooler, you're not actually going to bring the temperature down. No, I've not got anything to cut that yet, Daniel. wonder what this mask would look like if we turned it inside out, because I'm sure it will go inside out. The diaphragm on it might make that a bit harder. No. Just like that, not all that exciting. Yeah, they're expensive, Lloyd. They're like normally 300 to 400 odd pounds, but they're definitely worth it. I've heard of them. I've just heard of them as the Dutch Model K gadget, but they look very cool, but I've not got one. It's annoying that you can't turn more masks inside out, which you can kind of do it with Soviet masks, because obviously they're made from like softer kind of latex materials, but most sort of NATO masks you can't actually turn inside out, just simply for the fact that, like, you know, they've got the straps on them. Oh, there we go. That's even more inside out there. Use the filter there to pull it back. The Tissot tubes actually stick out quite a bit if you do that. The thing I spent the most money on out of all my militaria would have been my M1 carbine, which cost me £450, I think it was. I mean, there's variants of the S10 that were built for dual filters, but regular S10s have the voice diaphragm kind of radio bit installed on one side. You could probably bodge it out, but you're going to damage the mask doing that. So the simple answer is no. You need to get the variant that takes two filters, not the normal S10. I have a Dacia Sandero, Bradley. The cheapest car in Britain that's actually quite good. Wow, there's a risk that you could drink asbestos if you didn't clear it all out. So personally, I would not make a drinking flask out of a coffee can filter. Blades and Bows when they were still open, sadly, but Blades and Bows is no more thanks to changes to knife legislation. Yeah, well, saying a funny thing about Team Fortress 2 is people always say it looks like the TF2 logo on this mask. There, look. Dun, 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 dun. But yeah, I used to play a lot of TF2, but they kind of ruined it with all the updates. Now, the chat is always behind Bradley on the stream. Yeah, you're 51 minutes left, Eaton Azar, so I'll be off in 10 minutes or so. But yeah, because my Mark IV Golf was just getting to the point where each year I was having to spend like £1 to £2 grand to keep it on the road, and that's ignoring insurance and everything else. You know, that is just literally the price of maintenance on it. I ended up just going for a new car. So I got the Sandero Laureate, which is the top-end version of it. I was going to go for the Ambience, which was the mid one, but then it ended up being cheaper to buy a showroom Laureate. It ended up being like £9 grand to get the Laureate with the, you know, the TCI 0.9 engine, whatever it is, and all that, and the cruise control and whatever else, and doing that. Mark IV is not a bad Golf. What the hell are you on about? Mark IV was one of the best Golfs, other than like the original Mark 1s and the Mark 2s. Mark 3s are pretty horrible. And then like after that, they became not really Golfs anymore, because that was the point when they were becoming more and more like a family car. Let's not start an argument, shall we, over cars? Because I certainly don't want to derail the stream right at the end. Which gun on the wall? There's an SLR and there's the Lee Enfield. I think my Golf had a couple of 100,000 miles on it at the end, and somebody bought that and is still using it. It's just that I personally didn't want to keep the upkeep, because the problem was when my Mark IV was about 18 years old, it had got to the point where, like every original factory component was beginning to fail and needed replacing. So it was just getting too expensive. Oh yeah, lots of chavs bought them for, what do you call it? Boy racer kind of stuff. But the Mark IV Golf and the good cars for that, but most chavs would end up buying like a, what's the name of them? Like the British built Opel cars. Can't even think of the bloody name of them now. Vauxhall Corsas, wasn't it? That's the Golf on a budget. Yeah, Corsa, yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking of, Daniel. I've got 2 Slingshot Zeppelin. Both the bands have gone on, need replacing. I'm going to get Weapon Collector to build me a Slingshot when he's got time. Not really anything British Gamer, because I got into military stuff when I was quite young. Fiats are pretty practical cars, bone broth. I don't like modern Fiats, though, because Fiat's been doing this thing where they've been trying to prettify their cars and make them cost a lot more. When my dad used to have a Fiat Panda, and he bought a new one for like 3 or 4 grand, that's not bad for a new car, is it? But now Fiat is trying to kind of fashion their cars up, and they're charging way more for them. It was the bloody Fiat 500 revive that caused them to do that. We used to be able to get the Pandas cheap, and then they had to make the Pandas more in line with the price of the 500s, and they just ruined it. I'd recommend an airsoft gun for airsoft, not a real gun. But I'm not really into airsoft, as I said, so you have to ask the people who are into airsoft. Yeah, ask a question. If you're going to ask a question, just ask a question. Don't say, can I ask a question? I don't have a PS4 or an Xbox One, but if I had to choose one, I get the PS4 so I could get Bloodborne, but I don't have either. So I use a PC. I've got 2 air rifles, an air pistol, and the Daisy Red Rider, so I guess 4 in total. Yeah, exactly, Ghost Jesus. It's because they're kind of trying to make them trendy with some of them. So they're making, lots of them essentially less effective than they used to be for the sake of making them kind of fashionable and whatever else. And that's why that's why the Dacias at the moment in the UK are really good, because they're like very utilitarian cars and they're cheap. But it wouldn't surprise me in a few years if Dacias end up costing way too much. Like if my Dacia Sandero cost the same or more than lots of other brands of regular hatchbacks, I wouldn't really recommend it. But because the Sandero is like half the price of lots of other hatchbacks for something of similar build quality, it does very well, but that's only because they make it for the cheap price range. Cool, what air rifle are you getting, even? Or Evan? Let's not get into politics, please, OG Roblox. Both of them are bastards. I like Count Dankula, but he's not really a dank meme, is he? He's a bloke who does videos. I'll be on a little bit longer than an hour, Mike, as in, because we're just getting to about an hour point, but I'm not going to stay on really long because my aircon's off for the stream. The room's getting really hot. That sounds interesting. So it's a Ruger 1022 copy, but it's an air gun. No, so what, like an ammonia kind of smell coming off of them? Very strange. I mean, I don't know. None of mine have had a smell to them. If they were brand new filters, they won't be contaminated with anything. But sometimes filters can have weird smells, because my Scott P3 filter, the one that sits on the shelf over there, yeah, over there, it was probably out of frame. When I opened that out, the plastic bag it came in, it had a really strong, like, off-putting plastic smell. All right, cool. I'll watch that mic when you start doing that. Probably my C7 respirators, Yusef. You can buy some military caps quite cheap, Zeppelin, just like not like Nazi ones, but some nations, the military caps you can buy a surplus for like $10 or pounds. Shake it over paper and see if it leaks, but if somebody's dropped the filter, that's what it's got a dent in it. But a dent doesn't mean a filter won't work, but obviously it is a sign of caution that it might have been damaged, you know. Because as long as the filter medium inside hasn't been damaged, it will work. But let's say that dent's broken the particulate filter apart, then that's not going to work, for example. Oh, fuck, that thing fell off again. eBay, I recommend for military surplus, if you want to know. Right. Officer's cap. I've got an East German officer's cap because they're really cheap and they look like Nazi caps. They just have the DDR thing on them, not whatever was on the like Wehrmacht caps. That's pretty much true of any filter though, Andres, because what happens is when you use a filter, the charcoal in it absorbs all the moisture from the air. So it's like breathing in 0% humidity. So you're getting a sore throat because after a few minutes there's no water in the air getting to your throat. It's the same as if you go in a room for a while that's got a dehumidifier running. It's the exact same thing. Any charcoal filter will do that because that means it's doing its job basically. If nothing's coming out the filter, British Gamer, I'd use it. Yeah, my GM38 is on my wall over there. You can't see it because it's at the wrong angle for the webcam, but yeah, it's still in its normal place. How did the strap break on what bone broth? My XM28 strap broke just due to age, where it was like stretched and then it went pop on my head. But yeah, no problem, Andres. But yeah, any filter does that basically. Particulate filters won't because they don't block moisture. But yeah, the charcoal section in an NBC filter, because it has to stop vapor, it just stops water vapor as well. Well, it was broken before I got the GM38, so how do I know? Well, I can shoot rifles, yeah, I shoot air rifles and crossbows, but I don't go actually shooting with firearms because I'm in the UK. Yeah, I've got Downfall on DVD. Bloke who played Hitler and that died recently, didn't he? Bruno, whoever his name was. I can't remember his surname. Yeah. Yeah, if you breathe in charcoal dust, it will fuck your lungs up, Zeppelin, so don't breathe in leaking charcoal dust. Pretty much any kind of powder getting into your lungs is bad for it. Bruno Gans, that was it. Thank you, Ghost Jesus, yeah. Was it this year he died or last year? But I know it wasn't that long ago. Yeah, I've watched Downfall quite a few times actually because it's a very good film. Oh, so it was this year, yeah. Because sometimes things like that, I can never remember if it's like this year or last year. I think that's just a thing, isn't it? Where sometimes you just can't remember how long ago it was. Something like that happens. I don't think I have any World War II uniforms, so I can't recommend where you buy them from. Yeah, I've got Mad Max 1, 2, and Fury Road on DVD or Blu-ray. I've not got Mad Max 3 Thunderdome on DVD or Blu-ray because I think it's a shit film. But yeah, I like the Mad Max films except number 3. Yep, it's the Polish radiation alarm and the DP66M Geiger counter. Speaking of that, I'll do this on the stream before I go. Somebody said to me, I can't remember if it was Daniel or somebody else, how I meant to actually, which setting it's meant to be on to 0 this. So let me just. Did they say it was the 5 Ronkden? Remember that. A bit awkward to do it while it's in the shower. Pass this out the way. Apparently, when I've been charging it, I had it on the wrong setting or something. Let's see. Is it the 50 setting? Maybe. Still moving it. It's probably very boring on the stream right now, I'm afraid. Just trying to figure this out. What if I discharge it prior to doing it? I'm trying to see if I can set on my GP5M now. To 0, I've done a video on this. To 0 the dosimeter pen. Don't know if that's going to be visible on the camera. Probably not. You can charge it basically just try turning it slightly with a screwdriver. You're meant to be able to charge it with the unit. For whatever reason, I can't seem to get the line to 0 now. It's always off to the side. don't know if it's going to help to because I can't get it lower than 50 now. Ooh, got electrocuted by the probe just then. Brilliant. Unless I just need new batteries in the actual Geiger counter or something itself. Still in the safe range on the circuit check though. Ah, that's gone lower now. Okay, I got it to go lower then. Maybe on the K setting? Sorry, this is probably very boring. No, I don't have any fan mail. Sadly, all the local car boots down here have never had military things in recently. All they seem to have is like food stores. I've already said they're deactivated, so I can't shoot people. I think it's beginning to be a troll now. Who knows? Very strange. I suppose turning it clockwise helps, does it? Try turning it clockwise for a bit. Yeah, very strange. I have no clue. Yeah, I've got Gladiator on DVD. I'll go off in a minute. I'm just seeing if I can get this worked out before I do. How much if you hold it up to the light the other way around? It stops. Just trying all the settings to see if I can get it to do anything. Probably quite boring on the screen, I'm afraid I'm doing this. I will stop this in a moment. I'm just down to 40 there. Is that going down? Oh, I think that might be charging it now, but it's on the 200 setting. Right. Right, anyway, I'll be off. Sorry for the last bit of it just being me staring into that dosimeter pen. But yeah, I was just seeing if I could get it to charge. But yeah, for some reason, weirdly, the last couple of times I've tried to charge it, the needle's always been shooting off the thing. But yeah, for those of you that don't know, I did a video on it recently. It's just the DP66M Geiger counter, but has a charging port on it for the dosimeter pens. But yeah, it's a bit of an old sort of weird thing, zeroing the old like quartz fiber radioactive dosimeters. But yeah. Anyway, I'll head off because like I said, otherwise it's just going to be me ignoring the chat, staring down that thing again. But yeah, I'll be on tomorrow at some point. I don't know the time yet, but I'll do another thing on YouTube like I did today, where I schedule it via the streaming thing with the time when I know. All right, see you everybody. Goodbye.